Howdy, this is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is Thursday, February 26th, 2026, and I wish you a very, very, very happy Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. Ohio State got absolutely blown out, destroyed, thumped, spanked by the Iowa Hawkeyes last night. A final score of 74-57. On today's show, we recap the game that was. There's not really much to recap, though. Ohio State played a good 5 minutes in this one, and then from there, they decided to lay down, take their blankie, and take a nap for the next 35 minutes, and what would be one of the more disappointing outcomes you could see as an Ohio State basketball fan, and that's saying a lot over the past, 10 years or so. So in this one, we'll recap the game. I guess I more so have a lot of thoughts to get into from this one, a lot of takeaways, opinions, and look, if you stayed up for that game, if you watched even any part of that game after 5 minutes and you gave any time to that team and to that program, you're in it with me at this point. We witnessed what we witnessed, and it's probably similar to seeing a violent crime. We got to go get some help. We got to talk it out, and we got to figure out how we can move past it, because it was brutal to see what took place between Ohio State and Iowa in Iowa City. Before we get into it, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Please like the video on YouTube if you're watching there on YouTube, and subscribe on YouTube as well. That helps out the show a bunch. And get into the Substack. Views from the Shop podcast.substack.com was dropping a bunch of notes, a bunch of news and updates on John Mobley Jr., on Ohio State's quad one win over Northwestern, which seems like eons ago at this point because of what happened last night. But regardless, that also happened yesterday. Ohio State has a quad one win, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with Wisconsin and Oregon. You already know I don't. We'll see what happens in that game. I'm not even going to check the score, because you know what? Either way, Wisconsin wins the game. It's like, cool. Maybe Wisconsin jumps, and Ohio State has another quad one win after getting thumped by Iowa. They lose. When it rains, it pours. There's no good answer there. Look, you're frustrated. I'm frustrated. That annoying doesn't even begin to describe how I feel watching that game. It's not annoyance. It's not frustration. It's more so just the dumbfoundedness I have of the lack of give a crap displayed by Ohio State in a game that we all know how big this was for the Buckeyes. We all know that Ohio State really needed to get this one. They needed the win at Iowa, a serious, a real, a whatever you want to call it. It's a real quad one win. If Ohio State picks it up against Iowa on the road, it looks great. And for Big Ten tournament positioning, I know that that's not the end-all be-all at this point, but if you can somehow figure out a way to get out of that 8-9 spot and get into the 7, well, the good thing is Ohio State on its way to a 10 now at this point, but just avoiding Michigan would be huge if you do happen to advance in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, a lot to get through before we get to that point, but the stakes for this game really couldn't have been higher. And yeah, I thought Ohio State was going to win this game. I was pretty confident in the preview show, and I really liked how Ohio State matched up with Iowa. The spread comes out. I think it opened some places at 4.5 on Iowa's side. I think most places at 5.5, and then it goes all the way up to 7.5 on the Hawkeyes side, and I still didn't care. Thank God I didn't think to bet on this game, because I probably would have, and I would have been out, $5? What am I going to do without $5? I have $5. I don't need your $5, but not having $5 would have made me unhappy. Happy I didn't bet on the game. I felt good. I felt really good, even without Christoph Tilley. And at the time of recording for the pregame show, by the way, I said John Mobley Jr. is not going to play in this game. He's not expected to play. And then it was Tuesday, and as it turns out, you learn, well, maybe John Mobley Jr. might return for this game. And not only that, but you get John Mobley Jr. back, and there's a lot of momentum there. And then there's the fact that Christoph Tilley can't go and it's a shock, and it's annoying, and this team just cannot get healthy. The amount of people who said on Twitter in comments or in our Substack, unbelievable, or some variation of that, it's unbelievable. The fact that you get John Mobley Jr. back, and the second you get him back, a new player is out. But even regardless of that, I still felt like Ohio State was going to beat Iowa. I liked how Ohio State matched up with Iowa inside in the paint, rebounding. There were clear ways that Ohio State could win this game. And then after 5 minutes, it was clear Ohio State wasn't going to win the game. And then at halftime, I get on Twitter and find the clip of me saying, I think Ohio State's going to win. And I quote tweet it and I say, idiot. And then about 30 seconds later, I realized, this is only going to do one thing. It's going to bring out the haters. It's going to bring out the casuals. It's going to bring out the people who don't listen to the show the way that you do, most likely. And they're going to say, yeah, you are an idiot. Or, yeah, have you ever watched Ohio State basketball before? Here's the thing, guy. You know what? I don't even care, man. I am so frustrated at this point. I don't care. I'll come at you. You want to come at me? I'll come at you, guy. Not afraid. You look worse than me. Commenting at halftime, trying to dunk on me, acting like you knew. Why weren't you in my comments an hour before the game when I predicted Ohio State was going to win? Then all of a sudden, it's pretty easy to say that Ohio State's not going to win when they're getting crushed at halftime. And then you come into the comments and say, well, you've never watched Ohio State basketball before, clearly. Guy, I'm the only person doing this. I am quite literally the only person doing this. No one else previews and recaps every single game for Ohio State basketball except for me. Stop. I don't have time. This is, I guess, my own personal podcast, so I can get on my tangent all I want. Just shut up. All right? No one's happy here. Your additional misery doesn't help anything here. But you look worse later in the comments saying that obviously Ohio State wasn't going to win. I already put the egg on my face. I don't need your help. So yeah, I had a good feeling Ohio State would win. And some people come at me in the comments. And look, I searched for your prediction before the game. Unfortunately, all I could see is you retweeting a clear bot offering free Bitcoin, and you wondering who the backup long snapper is going to be for Ohio State football, because that's where your priorities are. Regardless, a great run to start this game. I felt real good. I said, I'm going to be right. The Buckeyes are going to win this game. The haters are going to be proven wrong. I'm going to be right. And I'm going to be right about a game where Ohio State was really a pretty heavy underdog, an overwhelming underdog in this game. Yet again, one good run by the good guys. That's it. And then Ohio State falls flat on its face after that. You can pretty much close up shop. Just forget about it. Don't watch. Just take your guys off the floor. That you might as well have just done that. That was essentially the effort that you got. It was a major game. It was a gigantic opportunity. You fell completely flat on your face. And that type of outcome, by the way, is a slap in the face to fans who stayed up approaching midnight to watch this game and have hope and awe of a quad one victory that sticks. And that's what you get? That, after the effort against Michigan State, where again, you could argue you should have won that game. That's the effort you get. That's a slap in the face to fans. There's a couple players who gave some kind of effort and gave some kind of production in this game. Overall, there was no push. There was no fight. We've seen these games happen over and over again, and I'll talk about those games here in a second, but it's not that hard. We can go into key stats. You want to do key stats? You want to just humor me and talk about stats in this game as if we give a crap? Let's do it. Bruce Thornton, 10 points. Didn't get involved in this game. John Mobley Jr., 15 points. 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. Got going early. And then Adam Jardy tweets he was in the face of some of his teammates during a timeout. Appreciate that. Appreciate the fire from him. Outside of that, Devin Royal, 16 points. Cool. Ivan Nagovin, 5 points. I thought he gave a nice little effort out there. He's just, he can't play starting center in the Big Ten. He's slow. He's clunky. He labors up and down the floor. He's not meant to be a starting center at Ohio State. That's just how it is. You don't have Christoph Tilley? That's what you got to deal with. Tayson Chapman comes off the bench and scores 3 points. Gabe Cupps, 0 points. Puff Johnson, 0 points. 0 of 3 from the field. Colin White, 0 points. I guess we can talk about Bennett Sturts, I mean, he had an okay game in this one, right? Not bad whatsoever. So Sturts in this game, he controlled it. He controlled the game for Iowa. He got Iowa back into the game when Iowa's run first began. He scores 22 points, 8 of 11 from the field. Absolutely exceptional efficiency there. 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. And he played 39 minutes. What are you doing playing 39 minutes, Bennett Sturts? You blew out Ohio State. Go sit down. You're good, man. You've done what you need to do. And then some man hoops name I'm not going to be able to pronounce. 20 points off the bench, 25 minutes. Outside of that, pretty much neutralized. But what you really saw in this game between Ohio State, outside of the absolute lack of effort, Buckeyes -5 on the glass, yeah, whatever. I think the biggest thing was pain points. That's something that I said coming into the game. Look, we know who Ohio State is at this point, right? We know how Ohio State wants to score. We know how they need to score at this point. They don't have the 3-point shooters. They got to score in the paint. In this game, they scored 18 paint points. 18 paint points as a Division I college basketball program. Iowa, on the flip side, they scored 44 paint points in this game. We had one tie in this game. We had one lead change. How on earth do you lead a game 14-2, lose a game, have one lead change, and it's over? Well, let's talk about how that happened. Because I don't care about stats. What happened on the floor is very, very simple in this one, and it comes down to this. Ohio State led 14-2 in this game. They started 5 of 17. They started 5 of 7 shooting with 4 triples, made all 4 of their attempts from deep. The offense was beautiful, and it was free-flowing. And then with 14:48 left to go in the first half, Ben McCollum called a timeout, down 14-2. From there, it took one timeout. It took one timeout to completely fix everything for Iowa. That's it. By the way, this one timeout came from a second-year head coach who, while Jake Diebler was interim coach, coaching the Buckeyes to try to beat Cornell in the NIT, he was somewhere called Northwest Missouri State University. From 14-2, Ohio State lead. From that timeout on, Iowa goes on a 35-9 run to close the half and lead 37-23 after 20 minutes. In this game, one second-year head coach stood on the sideline, commanded his troops, and sent them to victory. And then on the other sideline, you had another second-year head coach who had no answers, no adjustments, and no counterpunch. Iowa hard-hedged ball screens all day. Ivan Degovin, they know he's not a threat to score offensively. You saw the first shot he took of the game. It was ugly. They didn't have to worry about them. Hard hedge every ball screen. Make it real tough for Bruce Thornton. Make it real tough for John Mobley Jr. That's what you saw. No adjustments. Nothing done to change anything as this game continues. You look at the fact that Ohio State's up 14-2. Puff Johnson then subbed in for Ivan Degovin. I'm not blaming Puff Johnson, but this is what happened. Puff Johnson comes in, and throughout this entire annihilation, this is where it started. Okay? Annihilation. This is where it started. When Puff Johnson was subbed out of the game for Ivan Degovin, that is when the annihilation began. Remember, the starters got up 14-2 in this game. They got up 14-2 in the first 5 minutes. For the final 15 minutes of the first half, do you know how many times all 5 starters played together? Do you know how many minutes on the clock those 5 starters played together? It was 0 minutes and 0 seconds after a 14-2 run to start the game, all done by the starting 5. Those starters did not play together again for the rest of the first half, where you got destroyed 35-9. That is pathetic. That is embarrassing. That is malpractice. You have Bruce Thornton and John Mobley Jr. Those two need to be on the floor at the same time, and if they're not, it's got to be Taysom Chapman, because there's no spacing outside of that. Devin Royal can score a little bit here and there. Amari Bynum, Ivan Nagovin, whatever. The only time you had anything going in that half was when it was 14-2 in the first 5 minutes. Those guys who got you that 14-2 run never saw the floor again in the first half. You never had a freaking shot in this game. That was the only outcome that determined this game. It was the one timeout by Ben McCollum. That's all it freaking took in this game. Second half, what happens? Ohio State cuts the lead down to 10. 3 minutes into the second half. What happens? Ben McCollum takes a timeout. Out of the timeout, Iowa immediately scores. Goes on a 9-2 run. The rest is history. Took 2 timeouts in this game for this game to be over. 2 timeouts from a second-year head coach, who is clearly the better head coach in this game. What else do we need to talk about? This is probably going to be a pretty freaking short episode. What else do we need to talk about? I don't know. Why not bench everyone? At halftime, we knew where this game was going, right? Did you really have any hope when Ohio State's down 37-23 after a 35-9 run to close the half? Do you have any hope Ohio State was going to get back in this game? I didn't. There's no reason I have any hope. Even the 10-point lead. I sat there, I watched, and the guys who I love in the insider subscriber chat, they get a little hyped up. Absolutely not. No interest in that. The absolute flatness this team plays with at times, there's no reason to believe. So at that point, look, this team can't get healthy. We know this. Christoph Tilley pops up on the injury report again. He's out. Can't play in this one. John Mobley Jr. suffers a broken finger. 14 days later, he plays in a game. Amari Bynum, 102 temp. Devin Royal, too sick to play, healthy enough to yell on the bench. Now he plays in this one. We've seen missed time from Gabe Cupps. We've seen missed time, obviously, from Brandon Knoll. I mean, there's been more players who have missed time for Ohio State than have played in every game this season for Ohio State. And that happens. You have bad health at times. But my gosh, what are we doing? When we know that this game is off the rails, when your leading scorer in the game has 16 points, you're not going to win the game, right? Answer me. Why is Bruce Thornton in until 1:54 left on the clock? Why are John Mobley Jr., Devin Royal, and Amari Bynum still in at 1:54? With 3:45 left, Ben McCollum takes a timeout for kicks and giggles, I guess. Up 72-53. Out of the timeout, John Mobley Jr., Bruce Thornton, Amari Bynum, and Devin Royal still in the game. Why? The game is over. Imagine Bruce Thornton tweaks his ankle. Can't play against Purdue, maybe can't play down the stretch, and not only is he not going to the NCAA tournament, if that's the case, because Ohio State needs Bruce Thornton in order to get to the NCAA tournament. Not only is he not going to the NCAA tournament, he's not breaking the scoring record. Why is he in? You have 14 players on the roster. That's your own doing, okay? Roster construction this year, again, horrible. And yet this team has a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. So we'll see. But you have 14 players. You got to subtract Josh Ojawuna, Brandon Knoll, Christoph Tilley tonight. They're not going. You also got to subtract, I guess, Miles Harrow. I mean, so now you're down to what, 10? Guess what? For the final 10 minutes of this game, you could have played Braylon Nash, Colin White, Gabe Cupps, Tayson Chapman, and Puff Johnson. I don't give a crap what the rotation looks like. I don't care about your size. I don't care if you can guard. The game's over. Get your starters. Why are the starters in that late? The season is over if you don't beat Purdue. Unless you want to go try to win against Northwestern, Oregon, I don't care who, and then a UCLA or Iowa or something like that in the second round, you're going to have to win that one, and you might have to beat Michigan. Right now, it looks like Ohio State's going to be an 8 or a 9. Maybe a 10 if they're lucky at this point, if they drop. But if you drop that far, you're going to have to win more games in the Big Ten tournament. So, wherever you go, this is it. This Purdue game, it's go time. Why are we risking anything? I don't understand that whatsoever. And maybe that's me nitpicking. I don't know. I want to know why these games keep happening. Just look back to the Michigan State game. Ohio State led in the second half against Michigan State by 5. On 2 separate occasions, they led by 6 in the first half and had a good grip on that game for a while. They lose 66-60. Against Virginia, they led by 6 with less than 10 minutes left to go, and they also led 17-6 to start that game. That type of lead sound familiar? They lost, just like how they lost up 14-2 against Iowa. They led 15-4 against Wisconsin when they went to Madison, lost the lead, just like against Iowa, and never stood a chance for the rest of the game. Laid down, played possum. Lost the game 92-82. At Michigan, you managed a 40-34 lead in the second half against the most dominant team in college basketball this year. You forced a Dusty May timeout. You led with 10 minutes left to go in the game, and you lost 74-62. Against Washington, you led from the 17-minute mark in the first half to the 17-minute mark in the second half, including a 9-point lead. And then there was no fight. There was no battle in the second half. You lose by 7, 81-74. Against Nebraska, you led 53-50 with 8 minutes left. You battled back from down 14. So that game doesn't really belong in this bucket, but still, you lost at home by 3, 72-69. Against North Carolina, you led by 3 with less than a minute left, and you lost 71-70. Against Pitt, you led by 2 with 3 seconds left. You lost 67-66. And I can go back. Sure. We can pull up some wins here. Let's do it. I can mention the Ohio State win over Northwestern, where they trailed for a large portion of that game. Didn't look good in the first half, and they won the game. I can bring up the Notre Dame game. Christoph Tilley hits a game-winning shot to beat Notre Dame. I can bring up the Rutgers game down 16. You come back and win. That's great. Oregon game. I don't know if you ever really trailed in that game, but they dominated Oregon. That's great. So there's games. There are examples of Ohio State doing the opposite of that. But my goodness, that's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 of now 10 losses, 11 losses for Ohio State, where just for whatever reason, you're flat. You have a lead and you can't get it done. You're playing a team that's better than you, and you got a chance to win, and you can't. How many times do we have to see this game happen? How many times do we have to see this game unfold for Ohio State? They're not in position to make the NCAA tournament. They haven't been in position to make the NCAA tournament. The win over Wisconsin was great, and that was helpful. And the win over USC was great, and that was helpful. But until you get real quad one wins, and not even that. I mean, on top of that, with where Ohio State is right now, they've got to win games. They've got to go beat Purdue. They've got to go beat Penn State, and they've got to beat Indiana. Now, they are not in must-win mode yet because they can still win some games in the Big Ten tournament and make the NCAA tournament as an at-large team. But this Purdue game becomes essential now. It becomes essential to having a chance to go into the NCAA tournament without having to do a whole lot more. Ohio State's resume is not bad. It's still not bad. Even though the team doesn't look great a lot of times, kind of on a on and off basis nightly, through February 24th, 35th in the net, 1-9 quad one record. That drops to 1-10 with the loss to Iowa. 6-1 in quad two, undefeated in quad 3 and 4, wins above bubble, sit at 44th at plus 0.8. That's good enough to get in. BPI, Torvik, Ken Palm, all those numbers are good enough. None of those are concerns. But this is it for Ohio State. 3 games here. You're going to play Purdue at home. You're going to go to Penn State. Can't lose that game. And you get Indiana at home. This is as close to crunch time as it's ever gotten for Ohio State. We are going to watch an Ohio State team that yet again lives on the bubble and yet again is at jeopardy of not going to the NCAA tournament and finally could officially send your leading scorer in program history away without a single game played in the NCAA tournament. That is what you risk now. The ice is not just thin. The ice has cracked. There is a huge crack in the ice. The ice is every step is wet. Every step is sloppy. Every step is sloshy. One wrong move, you're sunk. That's where Ohio State basketball is right now. And I cannot believe that that's the effort that we got to see from Ohio State in this one. Knowing that if you lose the game, where you're going to be, what you're going to need against Purdue, what you're going to need moving forward against Penn State and Indiana. I mean, lose a game 73-70, but to lay down and die, to give up for 35 minutes, it's pathetic. It's one of the most pathetic games I've ever watched from Ohio State basketball. It becomes very, very difficult to do a show in a manner in which I can be unbiased, in which I can be non-reactive. And look, I've said everything I've said today, anyone on the coaching staff would agree with. Anyone inside the program would agree with. I don't think anyone's going to have any problems with that. Yes, I naturally root for Jake Diebler. I naturally root for the coaching staff. I naturally root for the players on the team because I have a lot of relationships with a lot of people around the program. And that's not me bragging. That's not me trying to act like I know things or that I'm on this high horse or whatever. It's human nature. You root for people you like. And you know what? So long as Jake Diebler is back next year, he'll be on the show this summer. And I root for him. He's nice to me. You'd be surprised how little I talk to him probably, but he's nice. He's a nice guy. The rest of the people I talk to, they're nice. I root for them. But it doesn't change the fact that what happened in this game is absolutely pathetic. And you've got to be as tired as I am at this point. You think I'm enjoying doing this? You think I enjoy having a freaking show for 3 full seasons now where Ohio State can't make the NCAA tournament? You think I enjoy never covering an Ohio State team go to the NCAA tournament? People at me on Twitter talking about how I'm a Jake Diebler homer or I'm a fanboy for Jake Diebler. I just want this program to be good just as much as you do. And after tonight, man, where do you go from here? How do you have any hope? How do you have any encouragement? And I get this is an emotional response for me. And I'm just talking at this point, and I'm literally just imagining that you're sitting right here with me and we're just talking. We're just shooting the breeze, as they say. I don't know how you have much hope from here. But you know what? You know what it would be for Ohio State? We've seen this before, right? Ohio State look like they're dead in the water, and then they play Purdue, and they win. They did it 2 years ago in Jake Diebler's first ever game coaching at Ohio State. They've won games like this before, where we've left them dead on the water, and they've won. So we shall see what happens. Guys, I'm sorry. Like, truly, I'm sorry. I don't like how emotional I've been on this show. I don't like how I've yelled. I don't like how I've attacked people, quite frankly. I don't think it's right, and I'm sorry for that. I'm just frustrated, man. And when you have a podcast and you run out of words, it's usually not a good thing. So, enjoy your Thursday. We'll be back Friday, tomorrow morning, previewing Ohio State's game against Purdue, which gets about into as close as must-win territory before you get into truly must-win territory as it gets. Ohio State is on red alert. It is a code blue. It is a attention, everyone, alarm bells ringing. This program, this team is in trouble. Until next time, thanks for listening today. Thanks for joining the show. I appreciate you a bunch. I shut up. Before you shut me off, go Bucks.